And we went out to dinner in downtown Portland, and he said, all those people over at that table are taking your photograph. I had no idea. So it wasn't just people with large lens cameras, there were like entire tables of individuals taking my photo at restaurants. And why, I don't really know. But that was around the time, you know, it was kind of towards the end of my lawsuit, and a lot of things were happening at that time. It was also after I had met the FBI agents. So I met Boo Honda for coffee, and then he said he wanted to see me again, and sort of gave me like a kiss on the cheek or something in the car after I was in my car. And then I said okay. And then after that, he called me at my house, and he wanted to meet with me in private a few times, which I didn't feel comfortable with because I didn't know him. And I didn't want to just invite him over to my place without knowing him better. So, I mean, even just to talk. So then he said, you know, I had told him that I was interested in being a lawyer, and I'd been planning to work for the FBI, or apply to work for the FBI. And so then the next time he called, after I turned him down saying I didn't want him to come to my apartment one night, I then met him next to a Fred Meyer's, and we talked in a car, like we just both drove over to the parking lot, and I parked and then I got in his car, which he said was a cop car, or it wasn't his car. And there were all these CBs in the back of the car. There were like 2 or 3 CBs in his vehicle. And he didn't know how to operate things on it. I'm not sure that he did say that it wasn't his car, but I could tell it wasn't because he didn't know how to work anything in that car. So he was just coming back from something to do with some kind of job, you know, that they had later at night. And basically we just talked, and he had some kind of a Sacred Heart of Jesus, you know, a heart with a fire around it, Saint's prayer card in this vehicle. And I looked at it, and he told me not to touch it, but I'd already picked it up and looked at it and then read the back, and it said the Sacred Heart of Jesus or something or other. So I was a little on guard because I was dealing with a lot of Catholics and some Catholic animosity, although it wasn't just some Catholics that hated me, you know, whether they really knew why they hated me or not. You know, I think a lot of them are mistaken, and probably some of them feel sorry now about it. But there was also some Jewish animosity because, like I said, there were things going on that end that I really didn't include for the longest time because I was blaming everything on, you know, these Catholics that had really been incited to commit a lot of hate crime against me. So, I was a little on guard when I saw that card, but I still went out with him. And then he called me at my house, and after that occasion, he then went his own separate way, and I went to my place. And he said that he wanted me to meet his boss. And then once I went out with the two of them, I was supposed to find someone to double date with, and I couldn't find anybody at the last minute. Either that, or they were a little freaked out about going out with me to, you know, meet FBI people. So, it ended up being just me and then the two of them. And then at some point, Boo Honda, who had initially been interested in me, kind of ditched me on the dance floor, and he said, Garza likes you better than I do, or something like that, or he likes you more, something like that. I mean, what was I? A, you know, house for sale? Or, you know, what they do, auction me off in the bathroom, and, like, flip a coin or something? I like her more. No, I like her more. I don't that? I mean, how do they decide that over the course of 1-2 drinks? So for whatever reason, the person that I was initially going there with, that had been calling me at my house and meeting me, kind of ditched me, and then wanted me to dance with this other person, his boss, quote unquote, named Armando Garza. And I didn't have a problem with Armando Garza either. I mean, I thought he seemed like a nice person. He was very smart. I mean, they were both smart, but, you know, they had something going on upstairs, basically, so, you know, it was interesting to talk to them. However, some of the conversation was a little odd. He said something about I was talking about my knee injury, and then he said something about, you have a hole in your knee or whatever. Something about that was a little bit weird, and then they split the drinks, like they shared buying drinks for me. Like, put it on one card and put it on another card. And I was definitely intoxicated when I was with them, but I felt that I could be intoxicated with them because they were FBI. So, I mean, I was meeting them because Buhanda told me, like, once I was there, they said, well, yeah, we might be considering someone to work with us. Looking for the right kind of person for some kind of work. So, I thought it was kind of slightly business oriented. And I trusted them because they were FBI. And, so then I asked them to drive me home, and I left my car in a garage where I had parked it overnight because I knew I could possibly be drinking, and I wanted to be taken home safely by a designated driver. Once we got to my apartment, they wanted to go into my apartment and pretty much pressured me and kind of forced their way into my apartment. I mean, I was intoxicated, so they really had no right to ask at all. And they knew that I was intoxicated. That's why I left my car in the parking garage. So they really had no business asking to be let into my apartment. Period. And then when I said no several times, because Garza said he had to use the bathroom, he kind of put his hand over my hand and started turning the key in the lock and wanted to go get inside still. And Buhanda did start to kind of walk down the stairs, like walk away, but then he was coming right back up the stairs when I said okay to Garza that he could use the restroom, but that was it, and like kind of make it quick. So then once they were in my house, I was sitting down on the couch because I was tired and I was intoxicated, and I guess I used the restroom, and Buhanda was looking through my entire house, up along the sides of my desk, and like scouting it out. And then I gave Garza a glass of water. They didn't want anything else. And I was going to give Buhanda a glass of water, but he wanted to get it himself, because I guess he didn't trust me. But I should have trusted him, of course. And as he got his own glass of water, I saw that he was looking on my counter, where I had a bunch of names of jails written down on a piece of paper. So I'm sure that was exciting. That was probably a little FBI thrill. Why does this woman have jails written down on the corner of her countertop? And the reason I did is because I was taking a class at the time through the Department of Justice, and through PSU. It was called Juvenile Justice. And it was about the justice system and how it works for juveniles. And I was, during that time, I was also interested in what kind of representation prisoners got of any age level at prisons, because I felt that some of the people, even in like the clergy abuse lawsuits, weren't getting necessarily completely I guess zealous representation. And they call it zealous representation, where you you try to do the very best that you can for your client. And I thought that, I was noticing some things with public defenders and defenders in general, and, I'm not saying that there aren't some good ones, because there are, but I thought that that it might be an interesting study to do, to gather some statistics from the prisoners themselves and find out what they thought of their own representation that was paid for by the state. So that's why I had already made some contacts with some of the jails, trying to find out if I could submit a survey. And I had done a survey in doing some research for a science class once before. I believe it was science. And I had a partner working with me on it. He did all the statistics. And then I came up with a plan of how to collect the information and the data. And it was I chose to do it on HPV because doctors at that time were not admitting to anybody publicly, including the American Academy of Physicians or whatever, the AMA. They were not admitting that HPV was highly contagious. And I think the reason they didn't want to do this, they didn't want to scare people. They didn't want to scare the public because there was nothing they could do about it. They didn't have a vaccination or treatment out for it yet. And the result of contracting HPV leads directly to abnormal PAPs for women. And it's an immediate and direct link. If you don't have HPV or have never contracted it, you can't get an abnormal PAP unless, for example, you have some kind of ovarian cancer, something that's really different and has nothing to do with kind of a sexually transmitted disease. So I was interested in doing, I felt that was a public service because I was sharing information with the public and with the students in that class at PSU that was not being given to anybody through the medical field. So I think I had some doctors and medical individuals already hating me at that point. They didn't really like what I was doing. Because, I just wanted to keep it quiet until they figured something out, and I didn't think that's the way to go about it. I think people deserve to have the information they need, and then they can try to make safer choices with their personal activities and try to, protect themselves. And so, now we have, several years after that, they came out with a vaccination for HPV, and then all of a sudden they started talking about how contagious it was and how everyone should get this vaccination. So it's quite a reversal. And so that's the kind of study that I was doing, and the kind of research I was interested in doing. And I have to give a lot of credit to my partner that worked with me on that, because he did all of the amazing statistics on it and compiled all of the information that I needed to help prove and back, the claims that we were making, with numbers. So I was doing the same kind of research and trying to put together something about the justice system with prisons, and that's what I had on my counter, and I noticed that Buhanda looked at that, and I then was sitting down on the couch, and neither one of them, I don't think either one of them were drunk. They were maybe buzzed. They each had a couple of beers, but they weren't intoxicated like I was. That is for certain. And I will talk about what happened next tomorrow. Thank you for your time, and I will state that I am still being tortured, actually, in the last several days. Since I quit my fast, it's been a little bit more, and since I started talking about the rapes and the police covering things up, it's been more. It's been basically military targeting, or NASA, aerospace industry targeting me to metal in my teeth, some sort of implant inside of my ear, which I can feel, to metal in my neck, and then I've already put online a couple of indications that I have some kind of microchip under my tongue, and I have several of those because I can feel them throughout my neck, and they're not tumors or cysts. They don't show up on CT as tumors or cysts.